Hello, and welcome back to Inside the Runner Studio. I'm your host, Tom, and with me, as always, are Aaron, Michael, and Diana.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
And we're super excited today because this is the first time that we're talking to another podcast that we love. We have our friends from Running on Tap joining us today. Good morning, y'all.
Hello.
Good morning.
So this is our mini series where we get to know people in a running community, and the format is pretty much rapid fire questions. But before we get into that, can you tell us who you are and where you're from?
Sure. Do you want to go first?
I'm Jacqueline.
I'm Kyle. Yeah, just like our intro. There we go. So we are a husband and wife running duo from the Washington, D.C. area who also enjoy craft beer and try to work those together for a podcast that we do every week.
I'm excited because you guys are so close to us, and when we listen, we actually get ideas of like where we can actually go. Because I know a lot of times you're listening to a podcast and you think, oh, I'd love to go there, but it's 4 states away. With you guys, I'm like, oh, we could go there this weekend because we're in Columbia.
Yeah, I can't make it to Nelson County quick enough.
It was, we loved it down there.
Yeah, it was
absolutely loved
a
it.
really, really great place. And we did, as you alluded to, we did a whole episode that was, we didn't run that week. So we just got to talk about where we went the whole time. And it's, So it's really cool to be connecting with people who are not only in the running community, but in the same area as us.
Definitely.
Yeah, right at the beginning of quarantine, Tom and I were getting stir crazy, so we drove down to Virginia and did some of the Northern Virginia breweries.
Yeah, we did Crooked Run, we did Adroit Theory, we did, what's the one on Route 15, right off the side there?
I don't remember. It was a rough weekend for me.
It was.
That was when you guys just went around and collected, did curbside pickup at did a road trip, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a great idea.
We actually haven't been to either one of those you mentioned, so
they're great.
On our list.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right. So I think I'm supposed to kick off our questions today.
Kick us off.
We just realized 2 minutes before we started recording that we asked these questions in alphabetical order by our names. And we've been doing it, not realizing it. And we're like, wait, what order do we go in? So we clearly pay attention. All right. So how long have you guys been runners?
I'll go first. You've been running longer than I have, but I've really only started running 5 years ago. It's actually 5 years ago this month. It was like my New Year's resolution in 2016 was to start running, and I had always hated it, always hated it, and but I felt like I needed to get in shape, and running was the one thing I hadn't really stuck with, and it was the one thing that took. So I've been consistently for 5 years now.
And I started running in 2013, February of 2013, so I'm coming up on 8 years, I guess. My mom had been battling cancer and had thankfully recovered and wanted to do something to sort of celebrate her recovery. So we went down to Disney. We both love Disney, but not runners at all. We went down to Disney and we did the 5K for Disney Princess Weekend, and we walked it, and it was a wonderful experience with my mother, but I'm a really competitive person, so we were walking, and I was like, oh, all these people passing me. Like, and if I were a runner, I could go faster. And then I just started collecting medals, and it lit the fire.
I feel like Run Disney is like a gateway drug into running for a lot of people. Yeah. You sort of answered the question of who found running first. So in that vein, though, did you start running, Kyle, because she was a runner?
No, I actually started running maybe just a few months before we met and started dating. But it's really funny because one of the ways that she told me later on that she was like attracted to me was because there was one day I was basically like, I got to work tonight. I got all the stuff to do, but like, I'm going to go out and do my daily run before that. And she was like, oh, he's like a really serious runner. And I think at that time, my longest run was 3 miles. So I don't know. She talked herself into thinking that he runs a lot. And I was too much into it. So, it it definitely helped. It was something that we really bonded over as we, in our first few months of dating, first few years.
He started running like a mile for every month. So like in January it was 1 mile, in February it was 2 miles. And he told me this and I was like, well, our 10 miler is in October. So that lines up. So we'll just do the 10 miler together. It'll be great. Then we'll do this.
Yeah.
I got into Ragnar. Like I just started signing up for it.
Yeah. So I definitely got into racing because of her. Like I
okay.
So that was there's a little inspiration there.
Do you guys ever run together or just separately or kind of a mix?
We don't really run together. We were in Disney for Disney Princess this year, and if we're doing races, sometimes we'll run together, but I like chatting. And Kyle just is silent.
Yeah.
The whole time. Yeah. It doesn't go very well.
I feel like that's very common amongst the people of this podcast.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, we have to be like in the right mood to be able to run together. Like a lot of times I'm like, I'm just going. You can't come with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's I think I can count on one hand the number of like races that we've run together because I tend to just go into a very like dark place mentally during a race where I'm just like dredging up old memories from high school and stuff like that and running on me on. And she, like, I'm just not a pleasant person to be around in those situations, and she wants to talk the whole time, and it's really just better if we go.
He's also much faster than me. And then I'm like, oh my God, he's quiet because he's so mad that we have to run slower. And it's out of control.
That's so funny.
Tom gets mad about when he runs too, right, Tom? Like we were waiting for him to I wanted to run with Tom for a race, and he's like, but I get so angry, and we're like, that's the reason why I want to run with you. I want to see you angry.
Yeah. And I just remained positive and happy.
It was very disappointing.
I know.
No, he only gets cranky when he runs just with me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think at Wine and Dine, I guess it was last year, like you were cranky at mile 1. I was like, usually you're not cranky until like mile 10.
Yeah,
you were like nasty.
I was quitting at the first character stop. It was pretty bad. All right, so are you morning, midday, or evening runners?
Well, I usually run midday, just because my work schedule is such that I work nights, so I'm not waking up early, unless like this past year when I was trying to run distances during the summer, and like it's kind of impossible to run it 6 miles at noon every day in Washington D.C. So I usually run around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock every day.
I try to be a morning runner. I am someone who loves running in the morning but hates getting out of bed, which I think is actually a pretty common thing.
Yes.
But if I wait until the end of the day, it just doesn't happen. So I try to go in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. Do you guys have a preferred race distance or like a favorite race distance that you guys like to run?
I probably would say the half marathon because training doesn't like take over your life, but it's far enough that you can like eat and drink a lot after and feel like it's like you have something to celebrate.
I love the marathon. Like I don't know why, but like I just like doing things that are hard, I suppose, and like it is something like it was something that I never thought I could do, and then once I did it, I was like, I need to do it faster, and then once I did it faster, I was like, I need to do it faster again. And so like it is something that's like it always feels like a big challenge, but I love the idea of putting like months into a single day of work. So I was thinking about this, and I'm like, I don't think the marathon is the right answer because it's so hard and it's such a tough like last like hour of a race, but like I do love it. So.
God, that was such a funny reaction. Like, just like that was such a marriage reaction. Like when you said that you like the marathon, like the face Jacqueline made.
That's about right.
I mean, it's masochistic, right? Like it's crazy. I know, like some of you guys are ultra runners, so maybe it doesn't seem crazy to you, but man, it's a long way to run.
Have you thought about doing ultras?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
I like her reaction. No.
every time I get like around the 20-mile long run point of a marathon training, I'm like, I can run an ultra.
Oh yeah, you could.
You definitely should.
And then like I get done, I run the marathon, and I'm like, I'm set for a bit. So I think it's something that I'd like to check off on my running bucket list. But I'm I think I'll have to wait for races to come back and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'll get addicted like these two. And like they just randomly run 30 miles on like a Saturday. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, gosh. Do you guys have a worst toenail or chafing story?
You do. I think both of ours are actually from this year.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
My virtual marathon. I had gotten like a blister. So it's not a toenail issue, it's a toe issue. I had gotten a blister on my 20-mile run that had like not recovered by the marathon.
Oh, ouch.
I just bandaged it up. And then at the end of the marathon, I took off the Band-Aid and there was like a huge blister with a mini blister on top of it. And it was
my
disgusting.
Oh, runners.
Mine was definitely this year. I did the great virtual run across Tennessee this summer, which was like a little over 1,000 kilometers between May and the end of August. And so, but I also left myself like a lot of meat on the bone at the last like 6 weeks of the challenge, and I had a lot to catch up on. So I was running like 5.5 to 6 miles every day, and my toenail just first it turned black, and then it fell off, and then like it would not come back. Like
it takes a long time.
It's finally healed now, months later, but like I had never had a problem with toenails through. Or chafing really through, marathon trainings, 3 different marathons and everything like that. But the grind of this summer, like it was weird to see. And I kind of like was amused by it, but like we're around each other all the time this summer. And so she's always seeing like my feet, and she was like, I didn't realize how much she looked at my feet before. And then every time she would see them and exclaim with disgust. So yeah, that was pretty gross.
This sounds like
Michael had a toenail that was hanging on by a thread for a long time, and he was just wagging in front of me, and I'm like, stop it.
It was my my big toe also, and then I would randomly send them pictures of it.
Why are you taking pictures of it and sending it to us?
In the group text, he would just send it to us. Terrible. Anyway.
Just be like in our planning documents. I was like, what's Michael's show there?
Okay. What is the biggest mistake you've made in a race?
Ooh,
we've all been there.
Mine is always going out too fast.
Yeah.
I've made it in many, many races, and it always comes back to bite me. And no matter how many times I try, I've gotten a little better. But yeah.
I think the fueling during the last marathon race I ran, which was my PR, but like I completely disintegrated at the end of the race. Like, kind of like she was really worried about me when I was finishing. But I just it was one of those issues, one of those things where I thought I had fueled right, but then in retrospect, it was like there was probably a couple of things I could have done different and done better during the race itself. So I think. Yeah, just completely losing all energy at mile 24 of a marathon was not ideal.
Yeah.
I've gotten better at that recently.
That's what I like about the marathon and longer is the logistics of parsing out that fuel and hydration. And I feel like you can push through a half generally, unless it's really hot out or something like that. But once you get to like that marathon distance, you really got to pay attention and make a plan or wing it and hope you winged it right.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience, and like in the future, I know like it's like okay, I could do this, but like I could do this and have a lot more fun if I like prepare a little bit better and think a little bit more about what I'm putting in my body the day before and a couple days before.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what is your favorite destination race and why?
I mean, mine is obviously Run Disney. It's something since that first 5K, we've gone back every year but one since this past year. So I just love it. I mean, I love Disney long before I loved running, and I love the parks, and the races are just so magical. They're the characters, and I remember one 10K running under a bridge, and like Elsa was on top, and it was snowing, and they're just such fun races.
Yeah.
And my half marathon PR was actually at a Run Disney race, so I have like a particular fond spot for that. I just love them.
I actually haven't done too many destination races. I've run a lot of the ones in the DC area, but I would say Run Disney too. I went and I knew this was something that was important to her. So I was like, I'm going in with an open mind, and but like I really enjoyed the entire Disney experience. The race was a lot of fun. We waited in line to meet Mickey and stuff like that, and that was like the highlight of the trip. So like it was a much better experience than I thought it would be. So I'm excited to do more in the future.
He ran as a reluctant Prince Charming. He did run in costume.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I'm still trying to get Michael to do a costume at some point. No.
Yeah.
I bought everything and laid it out on the bed.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have.
What I was going there.
Yeah, you just buy it and supply it, and then like they have to.
I feel like that wouldn't work in this situation.
So wait, then, do you have a favorite local race?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have a lot of races that like I love. Like I love the Army 10 miler, but also like it's so crowded every year, and like the first 5 miles of it are kind of impossible. But like also that's where I did my 10 mile PR. So like I love that. Cherry Blossom, I think it's actually Cherry Blossom. I got the experience of running it at Peak Bloom a couple years ago, and like there's a moment where you go around Haynes Point with all the cherry blossoms on either side of the road, and you're just going down. And I remember being just like overwhelmed with like glee at how pretty it was, and it was like a nice cool day. Like it was one of those when all the stars aligned. So I think Cherry Blossom would probably be my
that's my hate love one. I hate how crowded that beginning is, and when you go under that bridge and you're trying to come around, like it's just so crowded. But I love that race, and like doing Hainesport with the cherry blossoms and everything. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I PR'd that twice. I love that race.
That's awesome.
Although we did it that one year, the first year I did it, and I said I'd never do it again. And of course, as a runner, I did it again, was that year. I guess it was like 4 or 5 years ago when it was like 20 degrees at the start and super windy, and they actually had to cancel the festival because like the tents were flying. I don't know if you guys
That's the race that I think we were at together, right, Diana?
No, we went. No? It was cold when we went. It was like 2 years before that.
Okay.
I think it was like 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
Tom, you were cheering.
Yeah.
They like canceled the festival because all like the tents were blowing, and like there were no cherry blossoms on any of the trees because they'd all blown off. And people were hiding in the metro because it was so cold. Like it was just Mylar blankets, and like it looked like just like homeless shelters in the metro because there were thousands of people just hiding from the wind. It was so cold. And then I did it again, of course.
A couple years before that race, someone had like gotten hit by a car on the course.
Geez.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Like at the start of the race, like no one knew what was happening, and it was only like 9.1 something miles. I had to alter the course. So those were like my first 2 years of doing it. I was like, this race is cursed. Like this is crazy.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Like it's insane. It's insane. Do you have a favorite local race?
I would probably.
He answered.
I love Cherry Blossom, but I feel like I would probably say the Rock and Roll half, just because I've done it so many times. It's such a classic, and I haven't run it seriously in years because like something has happened over the winter that derails my training. So I love like the Mile 9 Guinness at it. People are like beer, and it just is a really fun atmosphere.
So fun. Cool. All right. Now to the question I'm supposed to ask. Why did you guys start a running podcast? Like what got you into that? What made you make that decision?
I came home from a run just wanting to do like something creative about running because I love it. And like, we always talk about it. And I was like, maybe I'll do like a running blog, or a friend of ours just launched like a running Instagram. And then Kyle is a big podcast fan, and we were like, well, we could do a podcast. Like we like talking to each other. Maybe other people will like listening to us talk to each other.
Yeah, and then I think on top of that, it was just like, well, why don't we like drink a beer during it?
Yeah.
And like we can talk about beer, we can talk about running, and like and we can review. We have like last year. This was in like what, February of last year. So we were like, we have a ton of races that we've signed up for this year that we can review, and like we can do all this stuff. Like that's a really good idea. And so yeah, it was born out of that desire to really just kind of have a little creative outlet, but also focus it on running.
It's definitely been different than we expected, right? Interviews, and I was like, "Oh, I'm training for a marathon. We can talk about that." And in like the third or fourth episode, I was like, "My marathon's been canceled." So everything's terrible. But I think it's been even more important during the pandemic. Like, it's kind of forced us to seek out fun running things and trying things and stick with it. I mean, the weeks that you feel really dumb going on a podcast and being like, "Oh, this is a running podcast, but I didn't run it all this week." So it's definitely been good accountability.
Oh yeah.
What has been your favorite episode topic?
Oh, that's a great question. I really enjoyed actually the one that we most recently updated, I should say, the 2020 year in review. I really liked kind of looking back at like how crazy this year was and just how not only the podcast has evolved, but like how our thinking about running has evolved and thinking about what running meant to us during this like insane year. So that was a really good one. I really enjoyed the last couple that we've done.
I think my favorite, we did one about, which is another recent one, about like virtual runs and sort of how they'll change going forward. And I just hate the attitude online that like you're just buying a medal. It's not a real thing. It's like, if you're going to cover that distance, like that's a race. And if you just want to buy the medal to buy the medal, that's none of my business, right? Like you do you. So we were like recording the podcast and I was all the way back and I was like, and another thing. And I got like, really
It's so funny. That's so funny because yesterday when we were listening to you guys, we actually said that. We were actually talking about how we love how you guys have embraced the virtual race this year, because I feel like that's something that we've really done for ourselves because, in this time, like what else is there to do? There really isn't. So like accepting what is important. And so the virtual race has been what it has been. And the way you guys talk about it and really embrace it and talk about the race medal, even the Santa Hustle one and like all that, like we loved the way you talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've enjoyed them a ton.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
The final of the randoms. Let's see. What is your favorite brewery you've ever visited and favorite style of beer along with that?
Go ahead.
I think I might steal our favorite brewery, but I know our favorite style of beer will be different.
Yes.
I'm a big Devil's Backbone fan. I wouldn't say I like love every one of their beers, but they make a huge variety. They made my favorite beer that I had in 2020, which was the Brew Secco, which was basically just a glass of Prosecco, but it was beer. It was just a total,
oh my God.
It was crazy to drink. I'm drinking this. I'm like, I can't believe this is beer. And we visited them during our Nelson County trip. They have such a beautiful setup and just like the culture of the company. They like really embrace hiking in the outdoors and being active. And I really like them. And I am a big sour fan. That's like basically all I drank all summer. And I'm struggling a little in the winter to find beer that is not a sour that I am super into.
I would say Devil's Backbone is probably my favorite brewery right now. I think just this year eclipsed Bell's Brewing in Michigan, which had been the traditional answer to this question. I grew up in the Southeast Michigan area, and as I grew of age, I really enjoyed Bell's. Was one of the first craft brewers in the area and made a lot of great stuff. But Devil's Backbone, like you said, they make such a wide variety of stuff that's all really, really good, and they have a beautiful setup. We really enjoyed. We went back there twice when we were down in Nelson County this year.
Great food. Really can't say anything bad about that.
I got to do a really cool event with them a few years ago where they came to DC and picked people up on a bus and took you to a park and had you hike and then bought you beer afterward.
Wow.
And,
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, when you say it like that, but it was like a whole company-wide event that's they've started doing every year. It's just a really cool,
awesome
company, and I really enjoy their stuff. It's my favorite style of beer. It does change based on the seasons, but I love a good hazy IPA or a juicy IPA. During the summer, which lasts from late April until early November here.
Anymore,
It's a really satisfying summer drink. So I really got into a bunch of those this year, and I think that that would definitely be it. But right now, I'm drinking a lot of dark stuff that's really good too. So depends on the season, but give me an IPA, I'll be happy.
Excellent. So are we going to jump into the James Lipton questions?
Yeah, let's do it. So our inspiration for this comes from the Inside the Actor Studio. So we like to jump into those questions at the end.
I like it.
Okay.
All right. So what is your favorite word?
I can't say it on this podcast.
I'd probably say super. I feel like I say super constantly.
Super.
You do.
Like I'm like, oh, I super like that. Yeah.
What is your least favorite word?
Work.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's true.
I would go with exposed.
Oh, this is our favorite. What turns you on?
I was thinking about this. I found this a really tough question to really think about, but I think humor. I really like funny people and whatever. So humor.
Well, as we know, Jacqueline is the funny one on the podcast, as we learned in the last episode. Yeah.
I would say runners. I like dating and then being married to another runner.
Oh, and what turns you off?
Condescension. I really like people who talk down to other people. I think it's the worst thing you can do is treat other people like less.
Yeah, I was gonna say like pretentiousness. It's the same idea.
Yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of like a babbling creek.
That's a good one. I like that.
I was gonna say the ocean. So,
Okay.
again,
Water.
weird.
Yeah, water.
They're
You guys
connected.
are
It's like you're
in
married.
That works out really
Like a
well.
mind meld.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you hate?
You were like dragging a chair across the floor the other day, and I wanted to kill you. So that.
Fire alarm, like the sound of a fire alarm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Here's the one I'll have to bleep. But what is your favorite curse word?
I would go the F word.
Definitely the F word.
Was that also your favorite
we'll
word?
save you the editing, and we'll just
Thank you. Thank you.
Was that also your favorite word there?
It was, yes.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I figured.
That is a popular choice. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I still like that. I love dolphins mostly. Like I would when I was a kid, I wanted to work with dolphins, and that would definitely be it.
I did not know this, but now whenever we're like at the beach and we see dolphins, he gets so excited. I don't know why. I would probably want to be a baker. I've always liked baking, but I've gotten like way more into it during quarantine, and I think it would make me really happy.
I feel like we could make a Lifetime movie out of the marine biologist and baker.
The Hallmark movie.
Yeah. Tom.
What profession would you not like to do?
Anything involving poop.
Yeah, that's always a good one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I would probably say like an exterminator. There's been like a bug in here. And we're gonna have to deal with that as soon as this is over because I really hate bugs.
Just get your cat after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously. A little high.
All right. And then James Lipton's final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You lived a good life.
That's a good one.
I would just want to know that like everyone I loved who had passed before me was there and like waiting.
I'm a little bit more narcissistic.
Oh, guys, that was great.
Oh, good job.
Her answer is way better. I choose her answer.
Guys, thanks for coming on. This was so much
Yeah,
fun.
thanks for
Yeah, this
having
is
us.
great.
A lot of fun.
This was so fun.
So is there anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, if you could check us out, our podcast is running on tap. You can find us basically Apple, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found. You can also follow us on Instagram at Running on Tap, where Jacqueline does a really wonderful job of curating our social media feed. I'm not as good at it as you are. I help sometimes. But yeah, you can find us those places, and we really appreciate each and every listener. So thanks so much for having us on, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Tom's classic sign off.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.